Let us start, please, with Molly from Indiana. Molly, how are you doing today?
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call.
Hi, Molly.
I was wondering. Oh, sorry, I know there's a delay.
There's about like 3 second delay. We'll figure out how to work with it. What you got?
So I want to talk about, or at least bring up, um, my experience growing up as Catholic, and having dreams as a big part of that belief system, um, and then kind of what I found out later on, like the truth about all of that.
Hmm.
So I'd like to share that.
Sure. Go ahead. What's some how do you because right now the thing I'm most curious about is how you get from dreams to truth. So help me bridge that gap.
Yeah. So growing up, and I don't know how much, I don't know if this applies to everything in Catholicism, but where I grew up, there's a lot of emphasis on, the dream interpretation of the Bible and saints having messages from dreams and being a female in the Bible Belt, like, or Catholic, I guess, in the Bible Belt. Mary was so, you know, important to us, and her dream about, hearing about becoming God's mom or something, was just so important that I got so, I guess, like obsessed about dreams. So I would think, oh, I'm going to be chosen by God for something. Like, I need to pay attention to all my dreams. Like, these are so important. Like, everybody must be a prophet because everybody dreams and has these crazy dreams. So they must mean something. And like, it just became something that I was so obsessed over and still am today. But what I found out later down the line, I became an atheist and I got some therapy and I found out I have OCD. And through that, I've been working on it for like 4 years now with a therapist and medication, and I found out the truth about the importance of dreams is that they're not important. They're not God going to send us a message or tell us we're gonna do something important. Like, I'm just obsessed over it because that's what my OCD kind of came out as. And on top of it being a religious thing, I found out some other OCD related religiosity things regarding that. But I'm focusing on the dream part right now. So yeah, that's kind of my little story I wanted to share and kind of bring up how some of these thoughts that people have that aren't really grounded in science or reason, maybe just a lot of undiagnosed mental health problems. So,
Well, and of course, you
that's
don't
all.
have to have, yeah, and of course, you don't have to be on a spectrum of anything to have dreams.
Right.
And all humans, we like to be,
Right.
well, not we like to, we are pattern matching creatures. We also like to put ourselves in the center of the story, our own stories. So I think probably what you came to realize is that we make attribution errors, right? That we like to attribute special importance to something that wasn't. Does that reflect how you originally believed?
Yeah, but it's with OCD in particular. It felt like, oh, if I don't pay attention to my dreams, I'm going to miss a sign from God, and I'm not going to do what He wants me to do, and like I'll go to hell, or something will happen that's bad
Oh
to my
wow! So
family, or you know,
were you literally in fear when you woke up that you had to like somehow write down or you remember every detail of what you just dreamt? Is that sort of where your life was at?
yeah. So like, even as a child, I'd wake up and I'd spend some time. My dad would even yell at me because I had to go to school, like get ready for school. But I would lay in bed and just try to go through every single thing I can remember from my dream and see if anything was important.
Mm.
Now, Molly,
In regards to that.
I'm nodding along here because I'm hearing a lot of when I was growing up because I was always taught. I'm formerly Catholic also, and I was taught in their version of Sunday school that God doesn't speak to you audibly, but He leaves little hints at you. right? And he'll speak to you in very little ways, and you must be attuned to those. And the people who are most attuned to those are the ones that are closest to God, right? So you start looking for things, and you start finding things that, no offense, might not even actually be there, but you're trying to find a way to get it in, and you're trying to find a way to shoehorn it into the beliefs that you already believe. So yeah, that was me also, like thinking back on my dreams and trying to remember as much as possible to try to see, was there something there? And then talking to father during confessional, and trying to figure out, right, what's going on here. So that was my experience with Catholicism growing up. Were you really deep into it? Did you go to confession often, or were you more participatory?
Oh yeah, no. Honestly, it sounds very similar.
Yeah.
It's something where I heard you gotta really pay attention, and because and I grew up kind of half and half. My mom was Protestant, and my dad's side is Catholic. But I'd hear it two different ways when we'd go to one church service and we go to the other one, and it got me very confused growing up. So I think that also kind of contributed to my stress with religiosity, with OCD and too. But yeah, it was definitely emphasized.
Yeah, I can't speak to actual mental health diagnoses and their effects on this, but I can absolutely agree that they can be convincing, especially when you're in a social network that will help you interpret those dreams in the way that best suits their agenda, if you know what I'm saying. Like, if you say, "Oh, I had a dream
Yeah.
about," oh, then that must mean you have people who are reinforcing the idea that it was a divine source. That can't be easy either. So did you eventually find
Yeah.
a network
Yeah.
of people that didn't, like, you're I see here you're from Indiana. That's not very far from me. You're right. We're right dad smack in Bible Belt, and finding atheist communities isn't the easiest thing, especially if you're in small town Indiana. So how did you eventually come out of that? Did you find friends in the network, or what happened?
Oh, well, unfortunately, no. I'm still kind of on my own.
Oh,
My husband is agnostic, so I've got him being supportive. Um, I hate to say this, but I'm actually quite closeted to most people, just due to some factors that I'm working on. But I just recently told my sister that I was atheist, and I've been atheist for five or so years now, and it went very well. And she was very
good.
supportive. And then she told me she is actually starting to doubt her faith too. So I've got a tiny little bubble here to help me, but I listen to you guys a lot, and that helps.
Well, we're glad we can be here for you, Molly.
Yeah, thank you. I
Well,
won't take up any more of your time, but I appreciate the opportunity to kind of share my experience.
Yeah, thank you for
all
calling.
right, thank you very much, Molly. Have a good night.
You
See, I told you we are reaching people, like, even if we don't know. There's thank you very much, Molly, for being brave enough to call. But there's thousands of them, Paul. There are thousands of them that are listening to us, and it how often do we say it's not going to happen in one conversation?
No.
And it's not going to happen in a dozen conversations. But when you start opening the door, Molly, when you start being that person who goes to your sister and says, I am, this is what I believe now, it makes it easier for other people, because you've made it easy. You took the first steps. You're the trailblazer, and being the first person in your community that does that, that's tough. So a lot of props for
No.
being able to do that. What was it like for you, Paul? You talk a lot about your Mennonite upbringing.
Well, certainly we weren't stressed about dreams, because when you're coming from a farm community, they figure out if you can remember your dreams, you didn't work hard enough the next day, and we'll have to work harder. You should be just sleeping, not having a mental chit chat. But oh, and then when it comes to being the pioneer, I know it's tough. I can't go into details to protect people,
course.
but there are communities that I've been involved in where I was the first one in those little communities to come out, and I know that has made it easier for to take the arrows, and the people who follow behind, they're often waiting, like Molly's sister there, waiting for someone braver than them to take that first step. And so I definitely encourage, when you can, to be public about it when it's safe, and when you feel comfortable. Having people normalize non-belief in whatever form that takes is really important to a lot of communities. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense to some people in larger cities or where they have a large supportive community, but there's still a lot of communities in North America and around the world where no one is openly a non-believer. That doesn't mean there aren't non-believers, but they're in the shadows, and having that come out can only help.
Yeah, see, that's the blind spot for me, because I've always only lived in large cities, right? Well, if you want to call Anchorage, Alaska a large city, but going from there, Portland, Cincinnati, I mean, I've always been able to be, just by sheer numbers, I've always been able to find people who I share enough belief with. I've never been stuck in the middle of a community with only, like, I don't know, 2,000 families or something, and now, this is all you've got.
Yep.
And if you don't, and they can make your life very miserable if you in such a small community, if you don't
Right. The out
cooperate
group
with
is
them.
a little more harsh in the small community, for sure.